Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition, a Tuesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios, family owned and operated with the largest selection of natural diamond jewelry, the only diamond and jewelry partner of the Florida Gators. Today's program, we'll have Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show, and then we'll have Steve Egan, who is the engineer, producer of all the Gator Radio Network broadcasts. He's got an interesting story. He's a big triathlete, but Steve at one time was 480 pounds and now wins these triathletes at his age. So we'll just talk to him about what it's like working in the booths with the different broadcasters, some of his favorite moments, but good dude. So I'm glad to have him on. There was a big article on him in the Two Bits magazine right here. I don't even know why I get this or who writes it or whatever, but
heard of it.
Steve was in it. So, buddy, you're on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. What's going on?
Morning, Shane. I'm sitting there trying to figure out all this stuff about where Florida might host, if they don't host, where they might go. It's all over the place. Trying to figure that out. Baseball to this afternoon, of course, going to be very interesting. Florida's got Billy Barlow starting, which is a bit of a surprise, but he's had some really good innings in postseason. Of course, they play South Carolina, and a winner plays Ole Miss, I believe. Is that right? I can't keep up.
I think so. The winner does play Ole Miss, I believe. Game's supposed to start at 6:30. I doubt it does. Hope it does. But we'll see how the Gators play today. Softball, if you missed it, they will host Georgia Friday, Saturday, if necessary, on Sunday. A lot going on right now in the sports world. And I think the Eastern or the Western Conference Finals in the NBA crank up this evening. It would be the Western Conference Finals, the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Who would ever thought those two teams would be playing?
I care less about it. I'm not watching. Jokic is gone now. The Joker's out. I'm not enjoying watching him play.
They beat the crap out of him.
Games. I mean, yeah, they folded. They had no bench. Their bench. He even complained after the game that if they're going to compete next year, it's going to have to be major overhauls to what they got because they don't have a deep bench at all. So I'll find out this week. I've got Woody Page on my show, and we'll get the inside dope of what happens out there in Denver. Woody retiring from ESPN.
And they no longer have that silly show on TV anymore. You know, buddy, I do not turn ESPN on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 15, 20 years ago, that was what you turned on.
Yeah.
6 o'clock, you turned it on in the mornings.
Right.
I swear to you, I have not turned on ESPN unless it is an actual game.
Game, yeah.
Or a golf tournament, you know, because ESPN sometimes does the golf on Thursdays and Fridays.
Friday, right.
But I have not watched 1 minute of Game Day, 1 minute of Sports Center. No, I just, they've lost my interest. I have zero interest in any of them.
That's changed a whole bunch and it's different. It used to be, hey, a lot of things have changed. Back in my day, you used to run to the mailbox and get a copy of Sports Illustrated.
Right, but the problem is ESPN has caused this problem on their own. It's their own fault.
Because
their programming is terrible.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought there was some underlying messages. Yeah. You don't like Game Day at all, huh?
I mean, it's okay. It's kind of the same thing every week. I know people, I don't really get to watch it because we're either on the road or doing pregame shows or tailgating or whatever. I shouldn't say I don't like that. Anyway.
But it has been an amazing show. I think Saban's really good on there, really good. I don't care for the kicker that much. And I still respect Herb Street, you know, or they do. And this is coach's last year. He's hanging it up after no more headgear. So it changes to move on, whatever. There's so many things happening in sports now like even following Florida, trying to figure out when are the finals of the golf nationals? When is who won what nationals have they won this year? What is track and field? Well, what about softball? How many wins does Florida need to get in to host? It's just so much to keep track of. And then you've got all the transfer portal and the recruiting. It's crazy, Shane.
It is. It is. Tony says on Facebook Live, telling Andy he got his Two Bits magazine in the mail yesterday. Great article on Steve Egan. The cover's nice too. National champs. Yeah,
Who publishes it? Who publishes it?
It's the University of Florida. Scott Carter.
Oh,
It's his magazine. I didn't
oh,
even know
Scott's
that.
magazine. Didn't know Scott ever had one.
I didn't even know that. I don't know how I get it. Maybe if you're a season ticket holder, you get these. I don't really know. Maybe somebody can tell me.
Huh. I have to ask.
Dean says we play at 5:30 today. I didn't know if that was 5:30 time or
I
Eastern.
think it's 5:30. It's obviously 4:30 my time out here. So,
Oh, okay.
So Shane, did you see not to jump ahead, these lists? You don't pay much attention to them, but excuse me. But did you see the list of the top college football stadiums according to 247, the top 10 venues now? See that just today?
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Give me give me the rundown of the top 10, buddy.
I don't think I have the top 10, but I have the main ones. I didn't copy the whole list down. But then there's 3 out of 4 of the top are SECs. But there come a time where Florida was always in the top 5, right? It was just automatically the Swamp was the top 5. That's changed. But the number 1 stadium is LSU.
I will agree with that 1,000.
I can't disagree with that. And then they got Beaver Stadium. Okay, I don't know.
Talking about Penn State?
Yeah, Penn State, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big
They got
stadium.
Neyland is 3, and Kyle Field is 4. The Florida is 9. I don't know what they grade them up or down for. Obviously, the facilities need a lot of changing. They haven't looked as much, obviously. The atmosphere is still pretty dynamic. I mean, I think it's great. You made a shocking point last night on my show, which I have to come back to you on and ask your listeners. You said the number 2 tradition now is in softball, and that the famous song "Don't Back Down" is not that relevant. Am I quoting you right?
I haven't bought into that. I know people like it. I don't know if it's because the students, the way they sing it and they do this ooh ah thing in there, it drives me insane.
I like that ooh ah.
I think it's
really
silly.
good.
But I think the second best tradition behind We Are the Boys
Yeah,
is, and it's been going on a long time.
yeah,
It's Sunflower Saturday.
right,
Uh, on Saturdays, the softball team wears sunflower things in their bows,
right,
ponytails, but they wear them throughout the entire postseason. And it's
right.
due to a young lady who loved the Gators. This is probably 15, 20, it may probably about 15 years ago. She passed away due to, I don't know what kind of cancer it was. And they have, I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, Tim Walton wears a yellow watch. He wears a yellow hat, a yellow belt. I mean, it's if you follow softball, you know about this. If you don't, you need to read the story, Google it. I think it's phenomenal what they do.
Well, I got to confess, I didn't know about it. Okay, so I'm really surprised that the number 2 tradition in Florida is something I didn't even know about, and I
Well,
do find.
that's my opinion, buddy. Some people like you don't even know what the hell it is. I'm going by what I
But
love.
I
Traditions of
have a high
Florida.
respect for your opinion,
Yeah,
and I'm surprised I didn't know it. I mean, I knew about it, I didn't know what it was until you explained it to me last night. I didn't know what it was.
yeah. So
So,
if you don't know about it, Google it, people. A lot of people here want to know how they get this magazine. Some say they're t season ticket holders and they don't get two bits. Some alumni get. I don't. So I have no idea how you get this magazine.
well, I'm in the magazine business, but I don't have a magazine. But hold on, there could be one coming. Gator magazine's been out of print for 12, 13 years. People still ask me, how do I get it? And you can't get it. Although we're talking about trying to figure a way to get it revived. Because some people like to hold the paper, Shane. They like to read the magazine. And I
Yeah.
think if we do it right and we do it, can afford it, even if we did a quarterly magazine, Gator Debate, it would be really good because people like to have something to put in their briefcase or carry with them or read when they go to the facility or whatever you want to do. So I love that. I didn't know about Scott's magazine. No, I definitely like to see it.
Yeah. Chris says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, he agrees with me 1000%. He hates the ooh ah thing. And he has some personal knowledge and can tell you they don't like it. I'm assuming he's saying that the Petty family does not like it. I don't like it. I think it's silly. Maybe that's what bothers me about that whole when they play that song. Barone 71 says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He went to Ohio State, Penn State in 2004. It's legit. It felt like being inside a castle, and it's way bigger than it is now in 2025 than it was 21 years ago. Yeah, I mean, you can argue about the stadium rankings or whatever, buddy. Everybody, I mean, Ohio State Stadium's huge. Uh,
Hard to
I,
beat that place.
I
I
just
mean,
don't know how anybody can compare to Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night.
well, they can't. Like nobody can't. I mean, that's why they're number one. And it's been that way for a long, long time. Don't spill your drink on you, Shane.
Yeah.
You only have 18 of those shirts like that.
Well, no, this is a special one, buddy.
Yeah.
You know what color this shirt is?
Looks like it may be purple, light purple.
It's light purple.
Yeah.
And it's got the gator head on it.
Pretty cool. I've
It
got
is very
my
cool.
hats coming from your place. They're in Ocala. I get to see them this weekend.
Well, buddy,
get down there.
we ship to Fort Walton, so I don't know why you always give me the Ocala address.
No,
You would have had them 2 months
no,
ago.
you shipped it to Ocala, but I can't
Because you gave me that address.
because I can't get them here.
Why?
They get lost in the
Hmm.
mail here at my condo. Is not good. I've lost
Oh.
checks, packages, everything. So I just had to sit to Ocala where my credit card is associated. And I'll be in Ocala this weekend. I'm going home. I'm going to be there. I'll check it out. But anyway, so yeah, I'm looking for that's a nice looking shirt. Where does one buy one of those?
These are called Peter Millar's, and this came
Oh,
from
they're
the
great shirt. I know
Gator
Peter.
Golf, Gator Pro Shop or whatever the hell they call it over there.
Okay,
Awesome.
yeah. Peter Millar's a great shirt. It's expensive too.
Very expensive.
Shirt's about $50, right?
No, they're like 119.
Oh, really? No, I meant
You buy no Peter Millar for
I'm
50.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I meant 150. I didn't mean 50.
Yeah, right around 119, 115, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. So Ruben Chinyelu is coming
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And today, Boogie Flan's on campus. He may have
Yeah.
been here yesterday too. Your thoughts on, boy, if we get Boogie Flan, this team's got a chance.
Yeah. Northern chance to be one of the favorites. For everything we've heard and seen, and you saw him. I don't remember him at Arkansas, but you do. Everybody raves about him. Of course, they didn't hurt themselves all thinking they got one more to get back. Schindler was a big piece. He's probably the most underrated player Florida had last year, in my opinion. Such a banger and a great rebounder and a great stick back guy. This basketball team, I mean, he says he's taking one more. He's going to take one more, so I don't know what that means. But this basketball team, I know my friend Fran Spirit is just off the charts, buzzed about this. He's got a book coming out on Gator basketball, but he's really excited. He thinks they're right back in it if they get the boogeymen.
Whenever Mara wanted to introduce his high quality tequila to the Gator Nation, he made sure to get it to the HBC and his team at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Dorn's Liquors. Go beyond with smooth Los Linderos tequila. Buddy, by the way, have you seen Coach's commercial with Urban, Shelley, and
I have.
Who's the best actor in the commercial or actress?
That's a great question. It probably would have to be Shelley.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I love it when Coach does his acting and these Campus USA Credit Union commercials.
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
But you know what a run he's had, man. I mean, look, he never slowed down. He went right into semi-retirement, into the restaurant business, and now he's still such a huge ambassador. And now he's got his son coaching there. He's living large. I asked him a couple of weeks ago, boy, some people would say things are going really well for you, and he said things have always gone well for everybody. He's right, they have. Except when he sat at the bench all those years in San Francisco. But Shane, he was training to become a play caller. He watched Brody and he learned how to call. And Brody has said on the record, although Steve kind of semi denies this, but he said to a friend of mine that Steve prolonged his career by being on the sideline and calling plays, helping call plays. And one year he got in, he did play well. But so coach has done really well for himself. Happy birthday belated again to Coach Spurrier, 80th birthday, and I'm really happy for him and he and Jerry that life is doing so well.
Yep. John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, if Tom Petty would have wanted ooh ah, he would have included it. I agree. I agree.
I agree. I do like ooh
Because their programming is. So you like the ooh ah? I don't. Maybe I think they need to tell the students to quit saying that.
Why is that's one of the things that makes this, Shane? Is
No.
Shane, listen to me, Shane. One thing that makes it everybody participates in
That's
it.
fine. Sing the song. Don't include the ooh ah. That's what
you get
when some people have an issue when you have the finger, they don't make chalkboards anymore, but the sound of the fingernails on the chalkboard, that feeling you get.
Yeah.
That's what I get I cringe every time they say that they
I
sing.
love it. Shane, you're going to be the get off my lawn guy. You really are.
No, the song is fine. It's the ooh ah that makes me cringe.
Okay.
It drives me nuts.
You are.
Buddy, if you were still covering the Gators on a daily basis back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, would you find a way to go to the White House with the basketball team?
I would. Yes. I definitely would, because it's a big moment. And I think it's significant, How many times you get to go to the White House? I don't care who the president is, it doesn't matter. You get to go. I would find a way. And in fact, all my life, I found a way to go places. When I didn't have the money, I would still find a way to go because there's some things you need to be at. And I think that's significant. National champion meets the presidents. It's going to be a great moment. Yes, I would, Shane.
Yeah, I agree with that. Are they going today or tomorrow?
Today.
They are going today. Okay, cool.
That's my understanding.
I know Chris Harry's going with them.
Yeah, well, they travel. They have one person travel with them at all times.
Yeah.
They work for the university, which is a little bit different. Hey, Shane, do you know that the Florida now will have two sets of brothers playing for them in baseball and basketball? That came out today.
I think it's football and basketball, isn't it?
Well, baseball, Hayden and Jordan Yost.
Oh.
Basketball, AJ and Isaiah Brown.
We have two brothers going to be playing in football too.
As soon as he comes from FSU, right?
Yeah. Tony's question for you, buddy, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Will Franz's book include inside stories on the team, anything we do not know?
Yes, it will.
What is the name of the book? Do we know?
Well, he's working on it right now. He hasn't got the title yet, but it's being published now. We're working. We got about probably 85% of it written. We're teasing around the idea. Maybe you guys got to get with the idea of Gator Boys or whatever, with also the fact that return of the Gator Boys, which Franz wants to draw a parallel between them and the team under Billy. I don't know. We don't have it. Anybody got a good idea for a title? I'll submit it.
So let me ask this real quick. Is the book just about this year's basketball team or all basketball?
It's about this season.
Oh, this season. Okay, cool.
And it'll be the in-depth features on Walter Clayton and Todd Golden, and because they're blow by blow through every Francis at every game almost. And it'd be go all the way through the whole playoffs when they were sort of dead in the water, how they revived it right down to the last play when Walter made the defensive play of the year and made it on defense, not on offense. So I've read it. It's really good. It's going to be quite good, and we're going to have some special events. And I think the book will be out before next basketball season. We'll have some events in Gatesville, probably down at Spurrier's among them, and we'll have some around. Calvin, if you're interested in having a book signing, got to get in touch with me. I'll see if I can make that happen.
All right. Kevin says on the Titan Mar text line, he prefers to watch Urban on the Fox pregame show. And the Gators are going to the White House tomorrow on Wednesday.
Tomorrow? Maybe they're leaving today.
Could be. I figured they would just fly up, do whatever they do, and fly back, is my guess.
I don't know. Well, somewhere I read they were going to go, but maybe thank you. You got enough bright and alert people to correct me when I'm wrong.
Here's a text from Jimmy on the Titan Mar text line. He says, buddy, if you were Kevin O'Sullivan, how would you approach this week in Hoover?
I'd say just play the game and not sweat it. If you lose and you're out, fine. I know that he wants to keep. You got to keep your RPI up, or you don't get you don't get the host. And they do, according to the story I read today of Edgar Thompson, they got to win 2 games in the tournament to keep the RPI up to host. Have you heard that?
I have not.
It's the first time
I
I heard
haven't
this.
heard anything because I haven't really
Yeah, he said he wrote
paid
a
any
piece
attention
today
to it.
about it, and he said in it, and I've got wrote it down someplace that they have to win two. Let's see what it says here. It said here it is. He said the Florida starting rotation to full force. The tournament, Florida likely needs 2 wins, likely, in Hoover beforehand to go above 500 in the SEC and remain top 60 in RPI, the minimum resume for a host seed. That's according to Edgar. He's a pretty good reporter. So,
We got two titles for your book, buddy.
all
One
right,
is
good.
Gator Boys on the Brink, and Dan says the Golden Season.
Yeah, that's the one we toyed with too. Thank you for that, guys. Keep them coming. You can email me at buddymartinshow@gmail.com. I'll take all coverage. We've probably got 30 titles
Are you
now.
in charge of naming the book?
Well, I'm it's my project. It's Gator Bait book.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
Carlson.
I was getting ready to say Franz is doing all the work, and then you're going to name the
Well,
book.
no, it's going his book. It's his
Yeah,
book. He'll get the proceeds from it, and
yeah.
we're doing it for him and with him. And Carlton Reese, one of the best editors on the planet, is really working hard, and we're going to have a bunch of great pictures.
So, buddy, let me ask you this, just out of curiosity.
What's that?
So, Franz is working on this season. When do you
Yeah,
think you'll be done writing about it?
I think in about a month.
So, once you say, okay, we're done,
Yeah,
we've proofed it, how long does it take
yeah.
to make that into a book?
Well, we're going to rush it through. Probably take us about 60 days, maybe less.
Okay. That's
And we'll
what I
have
thought.
several forms of it where you might be able to order it on Amazon. We're going to have some printed you can buy. We're just feeling away. We just wanted to do this. We jumped in on our nickels and dimes and put them together and just to honor friends and to do it for the fans, the people who are Gator bait. So
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Buddy, softball. I know you follow baseball more than you do softball, but they have
yeah,
another opportunity
yeah,
to go back. I think
right.
this is Tim Walton's 20th or 21st season. He's been every year, I think, but four to
Wow,
Oklahoma City. That's crazy.
wow,
4 or 5.
that is crazy. That is
Um,
absolutely
and I could
nuts.
be off there. I need to, it's somewhere around there. But anyway,
Somebody
this,
correct.
this team has a chance. There's a lot of parity in softball now. Oklahoma is still the premier program.
Yeah,
But you saw Liberty knock off the #1 team, Texas
that was
A&M.
amazing. That was
There were a
amazing.
lot of other upsets
How
in
about
college
Southeast
softball.
Louisiana?
Southeast Louisiana beat LSU.
LSU. Wow, I watched part of that game. That was amazing.
Now they didn't advance, but they beat them twice. I think Nebraska came out of there. They probably have the player of the year in America, Jordy Ball, who transferred from Oklahoma. She's a pitcher, but she also uh, can rake at the plate.
Yeah,
So they go to Tennessee, I believe. There's a lot of good regionals. SEC has guaranteed they're going to have 3 teams in the World Series, but it has a chance to have 7. Think about that.
wow.
Crazy.
Amazing year. I can't keep up, Shane. It's just too much. It's just
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what today is. By the way, I want to ask you this before you go off. If you could talk to Jeremy Foley about anything in particular, what would you ask him?
Foley,
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm going to ask you.
I know exactly what I'd ask him.
All right, go.
Jeremy, why didn't you build us any facilities when you were here?
Huh. Didn't want to get caught up in the arms race, he said. Huh?
Right. But it put us behind the race.
True, he did.
But he
And
did a phenomenal. I'm not saying he didn't do a phenomenal. Look,
I guess that's the
he,
one
he
up
saved
against.
money and did a tremendous job as an athletic director.
Yeah,
However, in hindsight, I wonder if he thinks, you know what, we probably should have built this or built that.
yeah.
Just
Good
curious.
question. I'll ask him that. I want to talk to him today. And then also, I'm going to ask you about hiring Kevin O'Sullivan. What did he see in O'Sullivan at Clemson? And Jeremy's kind of a baseball guy, big Red Sox fan, as you
Yeah.
know. And I'm going to ask you about that. I'm going to ask you about, I know about Billy. When he hired Billy, I thought he was crazy. Really looked like he was one of the players. He was 29 years old. Turned out to be a great hire. He did not, of course, hire Coach Spurrier. Coach Spurrier was there. And the one thing I want to, he might know this. I want to know what it takes to get in the Ring of Honor. No one's
I
been
can
able to
tell you
explain
what it
that
does,
to me.
buddy.
I'm sorry?
I can give you I know exactly what it takes to get in
Know
the ring.
everything?
Huh?
You know everything that it takes to get in the Ring of Honor?
You got to win a national championship if you're a coach. You need to be the National Player of the Year. You need to be either in the college or professional Hall of Fame, whatever. Well, we're talking right now football, so it needs to be the NFL or the College Football Hall of Fame is another criteria. The only person, well, the only people that I believe that are eligible are Urban, Lomas Brown, and Carlos Alvarez. I believe those are the only people that are eligible to get in.
Who would get in your opinion?
I think all of them should get in,
I do
like
too.
this year. I would
Yeah.
say this. I would think Carlos Alvarez should go in first.
Absolutely should be first. He's a
Yes.
phenomenal player and a phenomenal young man.
Yes. And then Loma should go in next, and then Urban, because I just think Carlos played here years ago, right? Urban's more recent. But
Yeah,
those
I would
three,
all three should go in, but I
I
think
believe those three, if I'm not mistaken, are the only ones that are eligible
Mhm.
to go in. So, all right. So Tim Walton's been here 20 years. He's been to 14 super regionals and 11 College World Series.
Who got you that?
My man Dan Bond,
That's
he's crack
well,
research
Dan Bond's my guy. You can't claim him.
guy. Okay, we got a bunch of questions here for Foley, and we'll get you out of here. Barone 71 on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, I'd ask Foley, why did you neglect football for non-revenue generating sports?
You can't ask it that way. You can't ask it that way.
Ask Foley about Arnsbarger.
Yeah.
He says, in what world did Zook, Muschamp, or McElwain deserve to be hired at a program like UF?
I'm sure those have all been good questions. They love them all.
I'll be honest, I love the Will Muschamp hire, and I still love Will Muschamp.
I did not.
I think he's a damn good coach. If he
It
just
should have on paper been a great hire.
if he'd ever had the right freaking offensive coordinator.
Well,
But
he's
he had a
his
different
fault.
one every year.
His fault because he didn't have him. That's the problem.
Right, but he tried. At least he tried. He had a different one every year.
I knew going in he wouldn't have him. And the bottom line is yes, he was the most desirable coaching hire in the country. He was Mac Brown's coach and waiting at Texas. And was being courted by a bunch of people. He has a Gainesville background. He grew up here. It should have been a great hire, and it wasn't.
Dude could recruit and coach defense.
I know.
If he had had anybody that could call plays,
Hmm.
he'd still be here, in my opinion.
Steve Spurrier was a big fan. Is a big fan. As he would say,
Yeah.
Muschamp's a great defensive coach. I said, so? He says, well, don't you think he'd be a great? No, I don't, because as long as he's there, they'll never have a good offense. And they didn't, by the way. He had 1 year decent.
Yeah, I still think if he'd hired the right guy, he'd still be our coach.
I heard you.
Well, I was still playing.
You could have retired to come be offensive coordinator.
And people would have been booing me. All right, buddy. Who you got on your program?
Well, tonight it's my man Lauren Meadows hosting the Lowdown.
The
That's
Lowdown.
name of the show Tuesday night, and he and Brendan and Rob will be there, and they'll talk about the super regionals, etc. Good show. Be sure to watch Lauren and Brendan and Rob tonight on what was the Buddy Martin Show. Still our network, but it's the Lowdown with Lauren.
Yeah. Good stuff, buddy. Appreciate your time, and
you,
we'll talk
Coach.
to you next week.
Good talking to you. Thank you for having
That's
me.
Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan No More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tim. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Steve Egan. He's the engineer, the producer. He does it all. When you listen to the Gators on the radio, it's because of Steve Egan. We're going to talk to him. Make sure you tune in. Send us some questions and comments. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila, Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Coach, you know, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. The Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we got a special guest, Steve Egan, the engineer, producer, do it everything for Gator Radio Network. Good morning, Steve. How you doing, bud?
Hey, Shane. Good to see you.
Yeah, I knew that you did these triathlons, but then I got my Two Bits magazine in the mail yesterday or a couple days ago. Open it up. There's this article on Steve Egan and Big Orange.
That's right.
Your bike.
Right.
First of all, you started being is engineer the correct term, what you do for the radio network? All right. So you're the engineer in the booth.
Sure.
But you started in 1990.
Your first game was my first game.
Yeah. Oklahoma State. Coach
Oklahoma
Berger's
State in
first
1990.
game.
Yeah.
And then you got to become a triathlete in like 2006. You
Mm-hmm.
were at one time 480 pounds. Tell that
Correct.
story real quick, how that all transpired.
Well, I got a nasty picture of my birthday in 2005, and I said, I got to do something. I went to my doctor, and at that time, there was no Ozempic or the miracle drugs they have now, but everybody was doing the gastric bypass surgery and stuff like that back then. And so I went to my doctor, asked him if I can get that. He said no. He said, he was a friend of mine. He said, you just need to get off your butt and do something, because health-wise, by a miracle, didn't have high blood pressure or diabetes or high cholesterol or anything. He just said, you just need to move. And so I did. I started on my own. And then within 6 months, I lost a bunch of weight. And then the story got picked up because I was doing radio in Orlando at the time. Had a sports show with Mark Daniels. And then, so we got a sponsorship at the RDB Sportsplex, and I got a trainer. And then me and her worked hard. I told my doctor I'd give it a year, and if I don't get it in a year, I'm either going to go to the dark side, or you're going to give me the gastric bypass, one or the other. And so after a year and a half, I had dropped almost 200 pounds with my trainer, and I'd won a couple of different contests, and my story got picked up. I got on the Today Show actually at one point in 2006. But then with her at some point, I just said, okay, now what do I do? I'd gotten down to 205 from 484, and I was like, okay, now what do I do? Okay, and she goes, well, you can come join us. She was a triathlon coach at the time, and she said, why don't you come work out with us? You know the race, you just come hang out with us, just work out with us, have some fun. It's some good fellowship, and just enjoy it and see what you think. And so I watched a few races with them. I went to all their workouts, and then I said, well, let me try one of these things. So, and the rest has been history since then.
And you've been in a bunch of them, and you win because it's all based on your age.
Correct.
We're sitting in the booth. You're like, yeah, I won this one in Kentucky last week, and
right.
Like, when do you have time to do all this stuff?
Yeah.
But a text here on the Titan MR text line from James. He wants to know, Steve, what do you prefer, the run, the bike, or the swim?
The bike. The swim has been the hardest part for me to learn over the years, and the scariest part for me. The run has gotten better progressively, but I've always been good at riding a bike, even as a kid. And when I started out, I was on a crummy little BMX bike that I bought at Walmart for like $56 compared to the people in my group at the time who were riding these, $2,000-$3,000 bikes. And I was keeping up with them. And that's when the coach said, when you get a real bike, you're going to be dangerous. And eventually I saved up enough money to buy a pretty decent bike. And that's Big Orange, as you see in the book there. And we've been together for this will be 262 races this weekend in Charleston.
So you got a race this weekend, huh?
This weekend, next weekend in San Francisco, and then the next week in Nashville, and then Chattanooga. 4 straight weeks coming up.
Wow. So that's crazy. In the article, it talks about you've done Alcatraz. You've been over what was it somewhere in Europe? You've done something.
Switzerland. I went to the World Championships in Switzerland, and I've done Ironman Hawaii.
Yeah. Tell me about swimming in the waters at Alcatraz.
Well, I'm going to find out again in 2 weeks when I go out there. But this will be the 6th time I've done it. It's the scariest thing you'll ever do. When you stand there and you look, you're standing there just off Alcatraz Island on a boat, and you see how far you got to go, and you know how cold and how treacherous that water is. And then, well, after the first time you've done it, it's not too bad. You kind of learn how to swim it. It's got a pretty strong current. That's the hardest part about it. And the temperature, obviously. You try not to think about the wildlife underneath you at the time. Yeah. But yeah, it's the coolest and scariest swim I'll ever do.
That makes me nervous just sitting here. Oh.
And it's a 1.5 mile swim. You got to go from Alcatraz Island to the Golden Gate Bridge, and then come out on the beach.
Where's your favorite spot? Is it Alcatraz? Is that your favorite one you've done? Or?
Well, that's been the most special one, I think. Well, when I finally qualified for Ironman Hawaii and the World Championship a few years ago, that obviously was special because I've been trying to do that ever since I started. I put that down as a goal when after I'd done just my first race. I said, this is my goal to do this at some point. And when I finally qualified to do that, that was kind of cool. So but I guess the one I've done the most is the one over in St. Petersburg every year. It's called St. Anthony's. It's usually the first big race of the year. A lot of the pros come and do it. I've done that every year since I've been doing this now.
Andy's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon, wants to know what kind of bike you use.
I have a Trek. It's not the fanciest. I mean, obviously it's an old at this point, and we've been through a lot together, a lot of accidents, a lot of crashes. And I've put it back together many times now, and it still keeps working.
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators, joined today to help make Florida victorious. We got Steve Egan here. He is the engineer behind the Gator Radio Network. All right, Steve, let's switch gears a little bit to your other job.
Sure.
You get paid for the Gators. Obviously, You've been doing it a long, long time. You were at every game for basketball and football. Baseball, you work mostly the home games.
So all the home games, yeah.
All the home games. Jeff takes whatever you give him, and he does it on the road.
Right.
What's one of the most memorable games that it has stood out to you since 1990?
Obviously, Dorian's got a touchdown
Mm-hmm.
against Kentucky. I mean, all the national championship games. More recently, maybe that LSU game after the hurricane, where we had to go to LSU and we had the goal line stand at the 1 yard line. That was pretty special. Obviously, the basketball. The first time we went to the Final Four, I cried like a baby in '94, because I never thought the Florida Gators would get into a Final Four. I remember every minute of that tournament, and obviously this past year has been very special in 2025. That whole journey with this current group, it was magical.
Dan's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Steve, do you have any sponsors, or you do all of this out of pocket?
I have gotten a small sponsorship from ASICS in the last couple of years. They'll send me shoes and some gear once in a while. And winning some races will actually get you either discounted entry fees or sometimes free entry fees to bigger races. So that's helped as well. But yeah, I had one with Adidas for a little bit when I first started out, because my triathlon coach at the time, she had a deal with them, and she got us a merchandise kind of sponsorship for some gear. But then ASICS when I started winning a couple of years ago, I got a shoe deal. It's kind of I don't get paid or anything, but I get some gear from them.
Free product goes a long ways. This text on the Titan MR text line from Bob. Bob wants to know, how early do you have to get to the stadium before a football game?
I get there 6 hours before game time.
But you set up the day before, right?
I'll set up on Thursday or Friday, depending on where we're doing it. And of course, the first 3 hours of our broadcast is outside, as you know, at the tent out by the O'Connell Center. So I have to go set that up on game day morning. And so I'll get there 3 hours before we go on the air and set that up. But the booth is already set up, except for some final minor touches up there. But most of the focus on Saturday morning is at the tailgate center, the tailgate tent, I should say, outside the O'Connell Center.
George's question for you on the Titan MR text line. He knows you were close to Mick Hubert. Can you talk about your relationship with Mick and now with Sean Kelly?
Obviously Mick wrote some very nice things in that article. If you read that, it almost made me tear up a little bit. But he's been a big supporter of what I've been doing for the last 20 some years with the racing stuff and the weight loss. I mean, he was there. He saw when I was at my worst, and so he's been a big supporter of that. But it's a great relationship. He's made me a better at my job because of how good he was at his job. So you had to be good to work with Mick, and if you weren't going to last very long. But it's a very special relationship, and I loved working with him. There were some times where in any relationship it's going to be strained at times, but I thought we did a great job together, and he was the best to work with. And now with Sean, he's already 3 years in, which is amazing to think about, and he's been nothing but terrific. And I've loved working with Sean and getting to see how he's. You forget about, these guys going through their first time with things. He got to go to the World Series in the first couple of years he's been here. He got to go to a Final Four here and win a national championship in his third year. And, we came to think of it as ho-hum after a while, but, and you saw how special it was and how cool it was for him to go through that process for the first time. And then after we won in San Antonio, I said, this is why you came to the University of Florida, so that it was special, and he's been fun to work with the last 3 years.
Yeah. Josh on the Titan MR text line wants to know, do you prefer football, basketball, or baseball games?
Well, football is the hardest one is for what I do. Basketball's fun. You're courtside. Baseball is just kind of laid back. I've always loved baseball, obviously. But basketball is kind of fun because you get to know more of the players in basketball better, because we're with them all the time. We eat with them, we travel with them, stay in the same hotels, we go to practices, so you get to know them more. The football guys, I don't get to see them in person a whole lot because I don't interact with them as much as you or Jeff or Tate do. And so but as far as on a regular basis, basketball is fun. I enjoy the closeness of that. I mean, they're all fun to do, but basketball, maybe basketball.
Yeah. Amy's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law. Steve, were you producing Billy Donovan's coaches show on Fraternity Row back in the day?
I did, yes, back in the day when we had to steal phone lines and run lines from different frat houses where they didn't have the phone lines. This is pre the data lines that we use now, and so the sorority girls in their houses were always in great shape, and then they did really well. And then we went to the frat houses, and it was a little rough when we did them there. So those were fun days, and it'd be kind of fun to go back and do that again. But I don't think it's
no doubt. The Pouncey twins provide all of the Gator Nation with the highest quality liqueurs made by J.F. Hayden Craft Liqueurs. Find your favorite flavors at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. A few more minutes with Steve Egan here, the engineer and producer of Gator Radio Network, every time you listen. Interesting question here. I may have to chime in on this one. This is from Will. Will wants to know, Steve, who has the best and worst press boxes to work from in the SEC?
Well, I don't like to say bad things about places.
Well, I will then.
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt and Missouri are pretty bad.
Well, because of the way they've changed things on us in the last few years there. They used to have a pretty good a booth for us. They've moved us to this little closet now in the last couple of years. I'm not a big fan of going to Mississippi State. There's not a whole lot. Tennessee to me is the best facility in the league.
Tennessee was pretty nice. I thought when we were in Austin, Texas, remember how it was so weird where we were sitting.
Because we were not flush with the front of the press box. You had a camera well in front of us, so we were about 6 feet back from the front of the box, and you had to look through a window basically, and it was a little tight box. That box in Utah a couple of years ago was a little tight as well. That was pretty small, but in the league, Tennessee, very good facility. Kentucky's pretty nice. We don't get to go to Georgia I've only been there once, and that was during the renovation in Jacksonville. But I remember that being pretty decent. We haven't been to Auburn in 12 years, so that I don't know what that's like at these days. But one of my least favorite, like you said, is Vanderbilt, maybe, and Mississippi State.
Yeah. This is from Gary on the Titan MR text line. He says, Steve, do you do any other engineering for any other pro sports or anybody like that?
I have in the past. In the last few years, though, I've been doing other colleges when we don't get to a tournament. I did the Frozen Four for Michigan the last couple. Well, they didn't make it this year, but the last 2 years before, I did the Frozen Four with them, and so that was kind of cool to do hockey with them. And then this year, I did 5 Michigan basketball games when we weren't playing. When they were playing down in the state. In Fort Myers, in South Florida, I was able to travel down when we weren't playing and do their games as well. And so I've worked a lot with Michigan. Xavier, I went on when we didn't make the tournament, 14, 15, whatever that was. Xavier hired me for their run. They got to the Sweet 16 that year, so I was able to do them. So I've done a number of different colleges. I did some pro stuff back in the day, some Major League Baseball. Well, obviously, I worked with the Braves for 4 years. I left Florida for 4 seasons to go to Atlanta and do Major League Baseball.
Very cool. All right, so back to being a triathlete. How did you get up this morning and run before the program? Or are you running later, or what are you doing?
I'm going to do it after we're done here.
How far will you run today?
I'm going to do 5 this morning.
5 miles.
Yeah, and then I'll ride the bike later tonight. I've got a Peloton here. I'll do a Peloton ride.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Well, Steve, we appreciate you joining the program. I mean, it's a phenomenal. Again, if you get this Two Bits magazine, you'll learn all about Steve Egan. But he is the guy that pushes all the right buttons for us on Saturdays and tells us. You got to be careful what you say sometimes. And Steve has the button to make sure it doesn't go on air.
That's right. Keep you quiet. It's been fun to work with you, and then obviously Lee McGriff before that, and back in the day, it was Scott Bramley and James Jones. And so, it's been fun. All the different guys that have been able to work with in the booth over the years. These are you are some of the guys I looked up to as I was growing up to enjoy great Gator football. So it's been a pleasure.
If they ever redo the press area,
yeah,
are they going to have your input on like the perfect booth for the radio broadcast?
I would hope so, but I found that has not ever been the case for anybody. I hope at least Shane. I hope Sean gets a chance to put his input in, because he knows what he wants and what he needs to do the broadcast. So I hope if they come to anybody, come to Sean, and then he'll get my input, and then he'll add his own input as well. So if that does happen when they do the renovations, hopefully they'll get some of our input and at least get something that we need.
Steve, good stuff, buddy. Appreciate it. Good seeing you.
Yeah, you too, Shane.
We'll be seeing you here in a few months.
Yeah.
Good luck with all your races.
Thanks, Shane.
And
Thanks
swim fast at Alcatraz. Faster than the sharks.
You don't have to be fast. You just got to be faster than the guy next to you.
But I'm worried about those sharks. All right. Have a good day, Steve. Appreciate your time. That's Steve Egan. He is the engineer, producer of Gator Radio Network. We appreciate him taking the time to join our program. Rules Over State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Appreciate everybody chiming in today. Have a great day. We'll be here tomorrow, folks. Take care.